Hello everyone, and welcome back to Anyone Can Learn to Code. In the last couple of episodes, we've learned how to create methods for your own custom objects. Now we're going to expand upon this a bit and make our methods even more powerful. If you'll recall, we've seen two types of methods that are available to the basic built-in Ruby objects. A string, for example, has simple methods like reverse, which reverses the letters in the string, but also has methods where you provide some additional information to the method, such as the delete method, where we can delete a particular substring from the original string. Let's delete the letter H from the string. Obviously, when deleting a piece of a string, we can't just say delete and expect the string to read our minds as to which part of the string should be deleted. So we need to provide the delete method some additional info, namely which piece of the string we'd like to delete. In our case, that was the letter H. The extra information that we tack on to the end of a method inside the parentheses is sometimes referred to as arguments or parameters. People use both terms interchangeably. I'll try to stick to one term, so I'll just stick to arguments for consistency's sake. What we're going to do now is learn how to write our own methods that accept arguments. Let's create a new custom class called calculator. It will basically be a calculator that will perform some random, simple arithmetic and other calculations. Let's start with a simple method that doubles a number. So let's say the method was given the number 2, it would provide as its return value the number 4. So we'd want to use it as follows. We'd create a new calculator. Once we've done that, we'd be able to do something like calculator.double the number 2. So this is a great example of a method that would need an argument in order to know what to do. It needs to know what number it's supposed to double. So let's go ahead and implement this method. Let's create a method called double. But now what we have to do in order to allow our method to accept arguments is to put parentheses at the end of the method name and then put in a variable that will represent the number provided by the user. We can call this variable anything. We'll be descriptive and call it number since it's a number that we're accepting from a user. And this is a little different from how we've established variables in the past. Typically, we've done something like x equals 3. Here we don't have to explicitly set the variable because whatever number the user is going to provide in the parentheses will automatically be assigned to this variable called number. Once we have that number, we can simply double it. Let's save this class and try it out. So let's load the calculator into IRB. Let's create a new calculator. I'm just going to call a variable calc for short. And now we can double any number with our new double method. So we can double the number 2, and we see that it returns the value 4. And of course we could double any number, and so on and so forth. So now we've got a calculator that can double any number. But what would a calculator be without the ability to simply add two numbers together? Let's give our calculator a method called add so it can do just that. So we've got add, and now this at first glance is a bit tricky because to add two numbers, we'd have to provide the add method with two numbers. Because to add two numbers, the user of this method would have to provide two arguments to this method, namely the two numbers which we'd like to add together. But that's really easy to do. In the parentheses, we can provide two variables, let's call it number 1, and separate each argument by a comma. This will allow the user to enter two numbers separated by a comma. The first number is going to be assigned to the variable named number 1, while a second number will be assigned to number 2. And of course, to add them together, it's simple arithmetic. Number 1 plus number 2, and that is the value that this method will return. Let's try this out. Let's reload our calculator, and now we can do calc.add the numbers 3 and 4, and we get 7. Simple enough. Now here's an interesting question. What would happen if we didn't provide arguments when they were expected? Let's experiment with our double method. Now normally we'd have to provide some number for it to double, but we're going to try out not providing any arguments. And we see we get an error message. Wrong number of arguments 0 for 1. And that means it is expecting one argument because in our code we said that we are expecting one argument, but we didn't provide it. So it only received 0 out of the 1 arguments that it was expecting. The same would happen even if we added empty parentheses but didn't provide a number. It only works if we actually provide a number. Now let's go one step further and see what happens if we provide the add method with only 1 number. Remember, in our code we expected 2 arguments, number 1 and number 2. So let's add 5 without saying what the other number is that we're adding to 5. And here we see a similar error message. Wrong number of arguments, 1 for 2. It's expecting 2 arguments, but only received 1 out of 2. Again, the add method will only work if we provide 2 numbers. Over the last several episodes, we learned a ton about methods, which are the building blocks of any Ruby application. Master these and you'll be well on your way to becoming a proficient programmer. Thanks for watching Anyone Can Learn to Code.